Hey there, and welcome back to Transformers the Game. As you recall, in the last episode, we took an examination of Tranquility 2 and saw all the distinctions with the characters. And now, we are continuing our high-res versus low-res comparison. Back with the Decepticons. This time, the hunt for Sam Witwicky. So, there's not going to be a whole lot of environmental stuff here. Heck, this might be a bit of a short episode. But, you know, let's see what differences await. And here we are, back in Tranquility. You know, all the while I've been doing this series, I haven't had a whole lot of really nostalgic moments, but seeing this, low-res Barricade, really resonates with me for some reason. I mean, I don't think Barricade was really my favorite character at that point, so I don't know why seeing this just resonates with me so much, but it does. Well, since we got him here, why don't we just jump to it and begin our examination with him. So starting off, here is the high-res version we are all used to. I mean, you know, it's pretty good looking. A little inaccurate to the final CGI render, but overall, not too bad. It's got some great shading going on with him. It just looks pretty good overall. And here is the low res. Okay, so it's definitely way more simplified, obviously. It looks like in general he has a bit of a different color scheme going on here. His interior parts on high res just looks a bit more metal, simple metal color. Low res looks a bit more on the blue side. Aside from the obvious simplification, I can notice a few significant distinctions. I see that the low res has a 643 on his chest. That is the correct detail. He is supposed to have that. High-res generally got all of Barricade's logo details correct. They are usually unmirrored and in the right place. Granted, they are a bit pixely. But the lack of the 643 on his chest was one of the details they missed. Obviously, the low-res is naturally using the separate logo meshes again, and as such, they're able to do a bit more than what high-res did. Out of any character that I think could have benefited from separate logo meshes, it would have to be Barricade. Because as good as a job high-res did, it wasn't perfect, and it could have been a lot more practical. Moving on though, it looks like he's missing a lot of thigh armor. It just looks way too open. Yeah, definitely missing some armor there. Okay, I think low-res actually has a bug. One of the fingertips on his left hand is white. And I don't know if that's a case of a not properly UV texture, or was it properly set up to use materials? I don't know. Either way, it's not black. It should be. It's not. So low-res has a bug. I swear, every time I play this game, I find something wrong with somebody. I think every character has probably got at least one issue somewhere. But, moving on. His back sirens look quite a bit different. He's got like some... I'm not really sure what's going on here. It's like you see a lot less of it. Maybe it's the positioning of the sirens. I don't really know. I guess different positioning. It's as far as I can tell. One final thing I could spot. Low-res has some red stripes of some kind on the side of his foot. I don't know what that's supposed to be. Maybe they ran out of room for the UV map? I don't know. He's also got some police text on the inside of his legs. Not sure what's up with that. I don't think he's supposed to have that. Huh. Some questionable changes to be sure. I definitely gotta give my points to the high-res, even with the addition of the 643 chest logo on the low-res. Well, moving to his textures, it's the same quality we've come to expect. small 256 by 256 texture that is all kablootied together. But he has a lot more color than some of the previous characters. A lot more black. Didn't Ironhide have like no black at all, and Barricade's got so much? That's quite curious. Well, I wouldn't really know how to tackle this guy. Everything's compacted together, and I don't really know what does what. Though I am curious about that black and red stripe section. I would think that would be used for the side of the siren, but I don't see a blue version of that, so I wonder what that's about. But if you compare that to the high-res textures, you get a similar style, just way more defined. He is unfortunately making use of a flat black texture for his diffuse coloring. And even though it doesn't look so bad in-game, if you look at it without any additional shading, it looks awful. Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of other characters make use of this technique, and I really wish they didn't. Flat coloring never looks good. Ever. Even if you have decent shading to mask it, you always want some substance in there, and this just isn't pretty. Well, he's got the same additional textures for his arms and legs, though you can see some of the separate logo sections, which seems a bit messy, but you know, they did it. I don't see two for the Punish and Enslave, so maybe they just mirrored that one. And he's got his inner parts, which is, well, more defined than the low res, but still kind of messy. Well, as you already know, low res also makes use of a separate logo texture, which has pretty much everything from what I can tell. He's got his police badge, 6 free, to punish and enslave, emergency 911 response, and police. So yeah, pretty much everything is all packed in there. Good choice. Barricade really benefited from that. And these same textures also carry over to his vehicle mode. So, let's go have a look at that next. And as far as I can tell, the two vehicles look pretty similar. I can't really notice that much of a difference. They seem to both have all the correct logo placements. Well, except for maybe the front 6 free, which I think is missing again. Otherwise, though, I'm not seeing that much. Oh. However, there are some very unique changes to his siren. The low-res siren actually looks to be animated. Now that is interesting. I don't think any other character has animated textures anywhere. Now, I'm not sure if the siren design is technically right to what he had in the movie. I'll have to check that. But the fact that it is animated, very interesting. Also looks like there's some color differences going on there. The bar of the siren, I guess, looks to be gray on low res, but black in high res. Again, my memory on this is not great, so I don't know which design is technically right. I thought it was black off the top of my head, but I could be wrong. Oh, one more thing. The low res has a completely different license plate. The high res has the screen accurate one, which I believe is set in Oklahoma, while the low res is set in California. So that is quite a unique distinction. And it even has its own texture. Speaking of textures, let's take a look at them, shall we? So the low-res texture is a bit more detailed than I would have expected. I am quite surprised to see 2 door sections. Honestly, since they're using individual logo meshes, I just figured they would mirror him. So that's a curious choice. Quite a bit more color too. Why do some characters have like a decent amount of coloring and others have like none at all? What's up with that? It's really erratic. Not sure what's going on. Weird that he has another texture devoted to his license plate when he has a much bigger one, but whatever. Compare that to the high res, which is kind of a similar theme going on here. He's got that wretched flat black again, and he's got all those sections for his additional logos. So he's got 2 badges, 2 punishes and enslaves, multiple 6 frees, So I think they more or less got everything. I just wish it wasn't so flat. And as we have seen with past trends, he has an interior texture as well, which is pretty good quality for a 512. That's really all I can say for Barricade. Let us continue our tour with one quick stop at the police station. So, funny thing about the police station, it's wrecked. It always has been. It's got an entire section on the front that is completely missing. And that goes for both resolutions. You know, there comes a point where I know this game was rushed, but the amount of quality control that is missing for so many of the game's assets just really starts to get to me. And this isn't even the worst offender, believe me. There are several issues that are far worse than this, but it just sucks, you know? This game could have been great. It really could have been. But due to being rushed or whatever, it really suffered. But back on topic. The police sign in high res has some nice detailing going on there. It's got a nice gray text with a darker outline. Looks pretty good. Compared to the low res, which is all one flat texture. Yeah, not nearly as exciting as the high-res one. Aside from that, the jail chambers, I guess, looked similar. Though I don't think the high-res buildings have bars on the windows. Oh, one other thing. You notice how the low-res lamp posts don't have any light, and the high-res kinda does, at least in the form of a texture? I mean, at least it's something. Low-res has a nothing. Alright, well, I think I've said as much as I could say about this police station. Let's continue on with our tour, shall we? Our next stop on the tour is the high school in Chapter 1, where we got Crankcase. We've pretty much covered him already with Swindle, but we'll run through a few additional details all the same. So, here is the high-res Crankcase that we are all used to. Well, still one of my favorite drone designs of all time. Great use of vehicle parts in robot mode. It just looks good. And then there's this scrap. Yeah, this is just as bad as Swindle. Everything just looks like gibberish. And he's chunky. And he doesn't even have that cool glowing spark chamber that Swindle had. So much worse. And he still doesn't have a bot symbol on his chest. What's up with that? The face design is kinda creepy in a way. He's got like this hallowed look on his face. Yes, it's terrible. Moving to textures, it's pretty much the same image as Swindle, just with a few slight modifications for his head and spark chamber. And it's green, also. Comparing that to the high-res, who has the exact same textures as Swindle, just green. Actually, I think the high-res is a bit brighter in color compared to the low-res, just by a little bit. And high-res has the secondary body parts and the interior, which is shared with Swindle. Nobody has that same individual door logo mesh that Swindle has, that you also see in vehicle mode, which is pretty much the same thing again, but it's green, and for some reason the low-res has a bot symbol mesh that is kind of clipping into the body. More issues to be found! Woohoo! And textures for that are of course the same, just green. You got it? Awesome. Cool. On with the tour. Coming up next on our tour, we have Salvage. Wonder how different he's gonna be. So first off here, we have high-res Salvage. Unlike his antithesis, Dropkick, he is properly weighted. And he's, you know, a pretty good looking drone. And here is his low-res counterpart. And overall, they don't look too different. And he doesn't look that bad either. Except for the fact that the low res has no eyes! He's soulless. Can't see nothing. Well, I guess technically he's got eyes, just no light in them. He's soulless. He's dead. Anyway, color placement is fairly similar. His arms are very dinky, especially on the back. The only other change I really notice is that low-res Salvage does not have the gray stripe on his heel. So that's something. And can we just say how nice the shading is on the high-res? That moonlight, mwah, beautiful. Well, jumping over to textures, it's pretty much Dropkick's texture, just with some more color and probably some different pieces for the head and spark chamber. Compare that to the high-res, which is this. Color's pretty similar between the two, and high-res has the additional main body and inner parts. Yeah, real nifty. And jumping over to vehicle mode, we have a little bit more going on here. For starters, the symbol on his side seems a bit higher up. That is actually a design aspect I really like. I always felt that the low-res got covered by the wheel section there. I might take that into consideration for my enhancement. Interestingly enough, high-res has a bit more gray coming down the hood. He's got a thin little sliver there. I like that. Adds a bit more to him. I wish the low-res would have kept that. One final distinction I can mention is that the low-res has a really dull truck bed, whereas high-res has this beautifully colored one with some nice red and gray inside. Beautiful. And look, we have another issue. High-res's rear window has not been shaded properly, so you can't see through it like the rest of the windows. Moving to textures, it's Dropkick, but red and gray, and there's a bot symbol. And if you compare that to the high-res, you get this. Low-res looks a lot brighter in the gray section. Red is maybe a bit more orange on the low-res, but the gray is way brighter, that's for sure. How nifty. And high-res also has that same inner texture that he shares with Dropkick. And that's all I have to say about that. We have one last stop to make on this tour. Let's get to it. And that is, of course, our old buddy Longarm. Probably not gonna be a whole lot to him, but let's do it anyway. So here is the high-res Longarm we are all used to. You know, he's a good-looking drone. Can't complain. I feel like I'm repeating myself here, but you know, what more can I say? And here is Low. It's pretty similar in design to Hook, naturally, though that head is super derpy. He's so close-eyed, and those horns are weird. Oh, also I just noticed, he doesn't really have that chain metal structure like he does in high-res. That is unfortunate, because that's a good touch on him. Of course, the high-res has that same misplaced door logo, which I have already mentioned, but I'll mention it again, because it sucks. And otherwise, yeah, pretty much what I've already covered, I guess. Jumping to textures, we got this. It is pretty much Hook, but blue. And here it is compared to the high-res, which is pretty much Hook, but blue. And if we look at his vehicle mode, it is pretty much the same situation with Hook, but blue. Because as you can see, both low-res and high-res have the blue hitch or whatever. Low-res Hook had a yellow one, and high-res was still blue because that texture was shared. Anyway, he's also got his unique side logos with that bot symbol, and he's still pretty clean. The arm of the tow truck has stripes going in a different direction. The high is kind of going at a, lower angle compared to the high-res, which is a bit more vertical. That's interesting. And not really a whole lot more to mention there either. Except, it looks like Longarm has the ID number on his left side properly positioned. Hook had that a little bit off course, I believe, but low-res looks correct, so pretty much the opposite of what Crankcase had with Swindle. Looking at his textures, it's Hook, but blue. Compared to the high-res, which is also Hook, but blue. Everything is Hook, but blue. And that is all there is to say for Longarm. So let us return to the action and finish off these Autobots. The bots. And with that, we conclude the Hunt for Sam Witwicky examination. Let's be honest, most of this was just retreading familiar ground. You know, pretty much different versions of characters we already saw in the last few episodes. But still, it's interesting to see what distinctions can arise even between low-res versus low-res. Well, that is going to be the last comparison for the year. I have worked my butt off these last few weeks, and I need a decent break to recuperate. So, you'll have a few more videos this week, then I'm going on break. I'm not sure how long I'll be gone. It's going to require me to do a bit of experimentation on how to find a good schedule that keeps content coming, but also allows me to work on other projects. So, I'll be messing around with that next year, try and find a good balance point that I can work with. So, we'll see how things go next year. Hopefully I can find that good middle ground that keeps both of us happy. We'll see how it goes. Well, that'll do it for this episode. Again, can't tell you exactly when I'll be back, but it'll probably be with another set of pre-planned content. So, more Darkspark, more challenges, more episodes of low-res versus high-res, but probably won't be 5 of them, because that was hard to keep up with. But that'll do it for this episode. Enjoy the rest of the week. I will see you in the next episode. Till then, stay jolly, Molly.